We haven't encountered anyone who wants their name taken out of the data set that we could actually find in the data set. Lies. That is a lie right there. Artists don't have a legal case against AI image generators. Wrong. The legal cases that are going to be brought up when they are finally taken to court. Breaching millions of copyrights at once. Knowingly misusing non-profit data sets for profit. We have a word for this now. It's data laundering. It's not cool. A breach of data privacy GDP regulations. This is according to EU law. And D, false advertising, maybe? The datasets are covered by fair use, right? This is what a lot of people have been saying. No. Let's read fair use doctrine, shall we? By looking at these four, we can clearly see, with beyond the shadow of a doubt, that 3 out of the 4 are just like hands down yes. The only reason I didn't highlight number 2 is because I personally have never understood number 2. It doesn't really make sense, the nature of copyrighted work. It's a weird one, but if we read numbers 1, 3, and 4. Number 1, purpose and character of the use, including whether the use is of a commercial nature or is for non-profit educational purposes. Is it for profit or non-profit? The results of this, of the portion used in relation to copyrighted work as a whole. And number 3 is a hard one to pin down, but we can see from the fact that you can name artists in prompts that it's extremely weighted towards a specific group of artists. Most of these image generators can and are being used to target single artists or single images. Number 4 is effect of the use upon potential market for or value of copyrighted work. We're going to witness this, but the effect that is going to have on digital art in general and photography is just going to be catastrophic. Here's another important thing that I didn't include in the documentation here, but you don't need that one. The effect is going to be bad. And I have evidence for those 3 points. AI image generators are offering premium tiers, which they are profiting from, but also that the prompters are exploiting AI images for profit in merchandise, in commissions, and in building social media followings.
I'm going to show you how you can generate insane amounts of money with AI generated art. Guys, I cannot believe it.
In the middle here, we have this AI plugin for Blender where you can literally just from a top-down selection process, you can just decide by name, their real names. It will use their data sets to create a style that is basically the same. I've got to thank Carla Ortiz for this because she has curated so much evidence about this that was really helpful. So jobs are being taken away by this, by AI. There are companies such use this. They could accuse me of breaking fair use because I'm using memes. No. You see, I can create memes because of fair use. Fair use is protecting us in using educational, like for criticism, for analysis. So fair use is great. I love fair use, but don't hide behind fair use when you steal the world's data, everyone's data, and don't ask them permission. When using a new technology that we're not sure about without their consent, a lot of us are not on board with how AI is treating this data. A lot of us don't trust it. You especially need consent when it's a new technology. GDPR, I need to talk about as well. So this is in the EU. I'm no lawyer, but this is what is said on the official website. I'll try and reject, meaning the rights of individuals whose personal data is being processed. The need for an individual's clear consent to the processing of his or her personal data. Easier access for the data subject to his or her personal data. The rights to rectification, to erasure, and to be forgotten. Personal data for the purposes of profiling. Right now, there is so much personal data inside Lion 5B. The right to data portability from one service provider to another. The regulation also lays down the obligation for controllers who are responsible for processing of the data to provide transparent and easily accessible information to individuals on the processing of their data. Midjourney is not doing that. It's a black box. Stable Diffusion, to my knowledge, is not doing that. DALL-E is not doing that. They are not being clear with how their data is being processed or what data is being stored or used. They are in breach of most of these GDPR regulations. Maybe the lawyers can squirm out of it somehow, I don't know. They have a lot of money now, so they can afford lawyers, I suppose. But this data laundering was done in bad faith, and it opt out. I want to talk a little bit more about Lion 5B for a moment, because I've been dropping its name here and there. Lion 5B was funded by Stability AI. It was originally internet and scrape all these images together. We know that it's been used for commercial purposes with these AI companies. These AI companies are valued at billions of dollars. It contains 5.6 billion images and text data. So it basically on medical record photos, racially discriminatory images. There is bad stuff inside these data sets. The creators have gone on record saying that they have not successfully filtered out all of these dark results from their data set.
I think the illusion of believing that my model is perfectly safe just because I excluded all the harmful data from it is a little bit naive, because there could be gaps in the filtering, or harmful actors could take them and fine-tune them easily. So this is a false safety. True safety only can come from really careful thinking and engineering.
On a more personal note, there are photos identifying probably everyone you know within this. Your mother, sister, son, daughter. If they exist, they're probably in this data set. Probably a profile picture, and probably their name as well, because it's text and image, the real names of real people inside this data set. It's a huge breach of privacy. It's a huge breach of consent. So now that I've done the debunking, I have a question for AI apologists and for the AI developers. AI image generators could have made developments ethically, so why didn't they? They could have trained only using public domain images. They could have used datasets vetted by a neutral third party. They could have made artists opt in to the dataset, so artists would have to give their consent or else they wouldn't be included. And they could have offered royalty deals to these artists who opted in. Simple stuff. But they decided to take the unethical, exploitative way. You funded a legal loophole in Germany to train your AI on billions of images littered with copyright. You decided to vilify and gaslight the artists you're stealing from. You just released this dangerous technology to the public, and you rolled out subscriptions as soon as possible to cash in on this. So the question actually is quite an easy one to answer. It's all about money and valuations, guys. Stability AI, you can see that it gets a $1 billion valuation, the 18th of October 2022.
There's a good business model. We've negotiated massive deals so we can be profitable at the door versus most money-losing big corporations.
Don't be too smug about your lean business model, Emad. I know why your business model is so profitable. It's because you don't pay out royalties to the artists you screwed over. The AI arms race has begun, and there's this winner-takes-all rush to get something out. They all did this very irresponsibly because they wanted to get that money. It's like a gold rush. For many years, really, they've had this shallow doctrine of disruption equals good in all situations. It's like, it doesn't matter who you screw over. It doesn't matter who loses out from this. It doesn't matter whose lives you're damaging. It's disruption. We're going after disruption because that's where the most profit is. Also, digital art in particular was calculated as being less of a legal threat than the music industry. Yes, they preyed on the art industry because they saw it as being weak in terms of the legal backbone of artists. And there's this attitude of, if we move fast enough, maybe people will just go with it and forget about it.
Image, I think, is the killer app, because when you look at this, it's a wonder for people that they can suddenly create rather than consume. And that's something that's across the board. You know, the comparators are Snapchat or TikTok, where you can create. There's Pokemon Go, you know, gacha games and these kinds of things.
Say art. Could you please just say that art exists and that you didn't invent creativity with this? I get that you're from a gaming background, but you must know about the art industry because every single noteworthy image that's been generated with Stable Diffusion has done so with an artist name in their prompt. With AI, anything is possible, except for common decency, apparently. So this is David Holt's interview in a Forbes article. Here is one of the questions. Did you seek consent from living artists or work still under copyright? To which David Holtz replies, no. There's no way to find a picture on the internet and then automatically trace it to an owner and then have any way of doing anything to authenticate it. These AI geniuses supposedly couldn't find an easy way to automate consent. What a shame! Oh, it was difficult, it was tricky. The consent thing is difficult from a developer's standpoint. So we found a solution though. Our solution was that we just took everyone's images without their consent. We just decided to backstab them all, basically. They could have taken their time to build a verification system. They could have built an image portal for volunteers to opt in and to upload their images to. They could have licensed image archives the conventional way. They could have just not broken copyright law for millions of people. A single copyright violation is a tragedy. A million copyright violations is a statistic. Okay, maybe I went a bit too far on that one. I don't know. I can't read the room here. I'm just on my own in my office. Okay, we got a meme finally. I was beginning to despair a bit too much. It's been nothing but lies, deceit, and question dodging from these CEOs. Very slimy, slippery kind of question answering. Can artists opt out from being included in data training model? He says, we're looking into that. The challenge now is finding out what the rules are and how to figure out if a person is really the artist of a particular work or just putting their name on it. We haven't encountered anyone who wants their name taken out of the data set that we could actually find in the data set. Lies. That is a lie right there. Can artists opt out of being named in prompts? He says, not right now. We're looking at that. Again, we have to find a way to authenticate those requests, which can get complicated. Okay, so why didn't you try and solve this before you launched? You're looking into it? This is a product that you launched already. What an irresponsible thing to do. All of the big players, they give commercial rights to what prompters make. They take from rights holders and they sell them to prompters. These are the subscription models. If you think they aren't profitable, if you think they're just giving it away, because in all of these talks they do, they always frame it as like them giving. They are giving to people. It's not, it's a SaaS business, dude. It's subscription as a service. Midjourney has a subscription membership costs. DALL-E has a sort of credits model. Stable Diffusion has a credits model. They are making bank from this, make no mistake. One more little bit from the Forbes article, because it is such a juicy Forbes article. This journalist, I need to bring his name up because he asked good questions. The output from your product is imagery, which has a commercial value in professional context, in addition to all of those other properties. And this is very disruptive of that economy. David Holtz gives the weakest, flimsiest, slimy answer I can think of. He says, I think it's like we're making a boat and somebody can race with the boat, but it doesn't mean that the boat's about racing. If you use a boat to race, then maybe, yeah, sure. In that moment it is. Okay, so it's the guns don't kill people argument. Now that he's made and developed this software and just done it in a very irresponsible way, now he's distancing himself from the tool that he's made and saying, well, it's a tool, it can be used for lots of different things. He's basically saying we haven't made the software to be used by professionals and for companies and for corporate use, but if you do happen to be a corporation, then we're going to charge you for it and negotiate with us to how much it will cost to license that image. Good news, finally. Basically, the US Copyright Office refused copyrights from AI-generated images. In other words, if you generate an image with one of these AI image generators, you do not own the copyright. The US Copyright Office will not recognize that as a copyright. So that's a good thing. So it essentially blocked the ability for them to realistically give the rights away to these things.
What is your sort of opinion if someone comes to you and says, your model produces horrible output, here I can show you?
I would say, of course, humanity is horrible and they use technology in horrible ways and good ways as well. But at the same time, like I said, I think that this is positive technology for humanity and it should diffuse, because then the pace of innovation to make it beneficial as well as to combat negative uses is far greater.
Oh, good, good. I was beginning to worry there. Okay, it's all right, guys. It's no problem. Emad just said that our suffering will be worth it in the end. And I guess this means he doesn't need to do anything to fix the massive gaping problems in his AI model. So if you're the victim of revenge porn, or you're the victim of constant plagiarism, false impersonations, your livelihood taken away from you, it's okay, because somewhere in the world a kid is spamming prompts to make 100 anime waifu iterations per day, and Emad decided for you that that makes it all worthwhile.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
Yeah, cheers for involving the community, Emad. AI is in the hands of some very irresponsible people. I hope you can see that by now. These developers need to be restrained by democratic processes and held accountable when they cause damage. And they need to slow down. People are getting hurt by this, and they are not paying any attention. They will say that they are all about empowering creatives. They will say that they want to bring about a utopia by AI. If you're an artist, they don't care about you. They are trying to pretend like you don't exist. They are trying to minimize the impact of your words and maximize the use of your images that you worked for years to create.
Another thing as well, like academia, companies, all these things. I think too many people in our community are unhappy. And obviously there's a lot of neuroatypical people within our community, right? I'm neuroatypical myself, you know? I want to see how we can have a happier community that supports each other.
That would imply that it goes both ways and that you support artists. Emad, how about we support each other in this way? You leave artist websites out of your datasets and we leave you alone. Yeah, that sounds like a great community to me. No parasitic relationship, just two distinctly separate communities. Double standards. This is by Stability AI. This is Dance Diffusion. Dance Diffusion is a music AI. In the music industry, they are respecting the copyrights. This is the same company, Stability AI, that's behind an image generator, right? So how are they treating it differently for the music industry? Let's read this. Dance Diffusion is also built on datasets composed entirely of copyright-free and voluntary provided music and audio samples. Because Dance Diffusion models are prone to memorization and overfitting, releasing issues in honoring the intellectual property of artists while also complying to the best of their ability with the often strict copyright standards of the music industry, keeping any kind of copyrighted material out of training data was a must. So why are they being so reasonable when it comes to respecting the rights of the music industry, the copyrights of the music industry? Well, it's because the music industry has teeth. If you replace the words music and audio samples and the music industry with the word art, and we should not stop until these demands are met. First of all, removes a massive breach of personal data rights under EU law. It enables and encourages prompters to falsely impersonate artists. It enables prompters to tap directly into specified artists' portfolio and brands for profitable exploitation. They should remove this feature immediately. Also, I'm aware that there are other data sets, so not just Lion, but any data set used in AI. Now, this would only affect future releases due to how the AI is trained, unfortunately. So for current models, you can't really backtrack in terms of what it's been trained on. But this would affect future releases, which most of the public are likely to adopt. It would allow millions of unhappy artists, performers, and public figures a way out from this blatant exploitation. We want an escape. It would force these black box AI companies to be transparent with the public about how their data is being used. With billions of dollars in venture capital funding, the datasets already logged, and money pouring in through subscription fees, this feature is well within your budget limitations. I'm talking to the big players in AI. I'm talking about Stability AI, Midjourney, DALL-E. all future datasets should be opt-in. You would have to knowingly ask for your images to be used in their datasets. That's basically what I mean by opt-in. This would respect the dignity of deceased artists and their families. It would prevent the uninformed coercion of older, less tech-informed artists and citizens, and it would stay true to the spirit of data privacy law. To the big players in the AI space, stop finding new industries to exploit and start remaking your current apps with these features, options, and limitations in place, please. I suppose. This is the third video of a 6-part video series. Thank you to these people for helping me with information and encouragement. And remember, you can help in a really big way to bring this case to the highest authorities in the world. The link to the crowdfunders is in the description of this video.